The alien backdrop serving as, the metaphor for being an outcast and not fitting in. It's kind of good because week to week you see the characters interact just as high schoolers would. You got all the personal interactions, which I think is very interesting, and then you add to that us on our own little journey, trying to find out where we come from along with their help. I think it makes for very exciting television because you got those two aspects. They're separate, but at the same time, they kind of mesh into each other.
Brendan was the mysterious Canuck for me. He was brought in from Canada. He was a very nice guy. I automatically liked him because he was from Canada, and so ultimately I had someone to talk hockey with.
I hope you intend to pay for that.
I do not.
Well, then that's theft, buddy.
Arrest me.
Brendan just has, like Michael, an edge to him. He says what he thinks. He's not going to beat around the bush. At times, you love him for it. At times, you don't. But that's who he is, and I think that it was perfect for Michael.
I remember at the read-through for the pilot, he needed a ride from the production offices to a wedding downtown, and he had no ride. So, hey, dude, I'll give you a ride. So I gave him a ride, and here I am with this guy I'm about to make a pilot with, and he's from Canada, and he's wearing a cowboy hat. He was great because, look, I like Metallica. I don't love Metallica, but he did, and you can't get mad for him. I mean, listen, when he would blast Metallica at like 7:30 in the morning, you want to yell at the guy, but ultimately you can't because he's like a huge fan.
Since the pilot, Max has sort of come out of his shell a little more than he was ever able to. He's experienced a little more of what life has to offer. His relationship with Liz has progressed some, and not without consequence. But and I think also that the three aliens, Max, Isabel, and Michael, have come closer and closer to finding out the truth about their past.
Jason Behr was the character of Max. He is handsome and sexy as all get out. Fans loved him.
I just remember being extremely awed by his biceps. He's a very strong young lad.
When we were shooting the pilot, Majandra Delfino came up to me one day, who plays Maria, and she said to me, listen, I just want to let you know, if the show gets picked up and we start doing episodes, if you're going to ever give Maria a boyfriend, just don't have it be Brendan, okay? Anybody you want, but not Brendan. She didn't want to be going out with Brendan. I don't know exactly why, but I knew when she said that I was going to put the two of them together. Because immediately when an actor says that, you think, okay, something's there. And of course, it was, and they had it in spades, and they were just so delightful together.
Michael and Maria, which I thought was one of the sexiest, hottest couples on TV. I really did. Once I did Heat Wave with those guys, I mean, literally, we would roll that camera, and these guys would get so into it that I would forget to cut. It was like they would just go at it, and it was like you could hear a pin drop. We weren't in the room with them, obviously, and you can see it on film. There was nobody else there but those two. And you talk about connecting, a chemistry, wherever they're from, it came out. And Jason was so right. When he heard Majandra say, I never want to do a scene with Brendan, he's a jerk. He said, don't hook me up with him in the series. And Jason said, yeah, I'm going to hook him up. And he hooked him up. Boy, was he right. He was so right.
When we were filming 285 South, every time we were filming it, and I got to turn the key and the trap door pops open and we're filling with rocks and we go in this dome, we just felt like we were filming the Goonies. Like these kids on a treasure hunt searching for all this stuff. And it was really a lot of fun. And I think if it's fun filming, I think it's going to be even a lot more fun to watch it.
Roswell was always shot in and around Los Angeles. We had always thought, when I did the research for the show, before we shot, I went to Roswell, New Mexico, and spent a few days there and got a sense of that world. But the realities of production didn't allow us to go to New Mexico and shoot. So we had to sort of find New Mexico in Los Angeles.
We looked all over LA trying to find, we knew that we needed a town that would be ours, kind of like our second back lot. We used a little bit of the back lot at Paramount, their New York Street and other parts for certain things that we needed to shoot, but we really needed the hometown. It was going to be our Roswell.
We shot in the town of Covina, which is out in the San Gabriel Valley. And believe it or not, even though it is within the zone, the shooting zone in Los Angeles, it had never been shot in before. And it was, it's like small town USA.
The main drag of that town has really survived intact from, well before the Second World War. A lot of the buildings are from the 1880s, 1890s. Two-story brick facades.
They had never allowed any franchising in the town. It had a wonderful main street that became the main street of Roswell.
It was just perfect for us because it had just the right scale. It had the width of the street. The people were very friendly. They were happy to have us there. They were, the town was just really accommodating. We found an exterior brick building cafe.
That was a working cafe, but they let us put up the huge flying saucer that had crashed into the building, which was the exterior of the crash down.
And so we had that permanently installed, and we were able to kind of reface the front of the lower part to match our set on stage.
So if you watch the show, if we were outside the crash down cafe, we would be in Covina. And then basically if they walked in, we would then cut inside and we would actually be shooting at Paramount.
The entire pilot was shot on location because you don't build sets for a pilot because you don't know if it's going to be picked up. And once the series was picked up, we had to, we built both the school, we built the crash down. The rest of the locations were generally places that we went out to.
It was always fun to work in there because they would pull the walls out. You never knew which wall they were going to fly out to bring the cameras in. It was sort of the heart of the show. Everything came and went through there. I have fond memories of the Crash Down Cafe. Food was awful, as I recall. It's terrible, really terrible.
I think that the Crash Down Cafe, it just really worked on all levels. It worked as a shooting space. It worked as a practical shooting space. It was visually interesting. It seemed to reinforce the themes of the show all in one place. It had this feeling of country. It had kind of a small town, country feel with the overlay of the science fiction, and space themes. It just shot well. The colors were vibrant, but you believed them. They didn't seem unbelievable. One of my favorite things in the whole show was the fact that we went out into thrift stores and just bought thrift store paintings, and then we dropped them all off at this artist that we hired in the valley and just gave her, free rein, and she just put alien themes into each of them. So if it was a Spanish galleon on the high seas, she put a saucer in the sky above shooting a beam of light down onto the ship. We just tried to do it in terms of if someone, as I said, didn't have a lot of resources but was very creative, how would you come up? So the idea we stenciled wallpaper that had aliens in it. It was a graphic, and it was just done with cutouts, and spray paint. And then there was the big mural that goes behind all the booths there, and that I drew that and designed it. And there we had three. Again, that was kind of campy. It would look like three alien teenagers coming up out of a crashed, spaceship. That was one place we were allowed to be campy because the people creating the show really felt strongly that it had to be grounded, and we tried to keep the rest of it, at least that if you don't have some grounding, then you can't, any sense of threat or emotional involvement is really dulled if you don't feel like there's some consequences. So the show that really could have gone, if it wasn't kept, if the lid wasn't kept on that part, it could really go off in that very campy way, which would have diminished it, I think.
Hi, welcome to the Crash Down. Can I show you to a table?
Table, yes. Table would be lovely. Jen, table?
Yeah, thanks.
Great.
I think that there were lots of other sets that I liked, but I think that set was just worked out well.
Are you okay?
Of course I'm okay. Don't I seem okay?
Well, you just shortchanged her $10.
Oh my God.
A UFO museum became an important center. The city fathers there had a closed-down bank building.
That they let us build the exterior to.
And permanently leave our UFO museum facade up, so whenever we needed to shoot, we could go back there, because the thing that distinguishes television shooting from, doing a movie, things change very fast. I mean, you may need, something can come up in the morning, and you're trying to solve that problem by noon, and you've got to come up with a physical, solution by the next day. So you really need to have these standing sets that you can just kind of, put up a few things, add the lights on, and be ready to shoot it again. So Covina was just perfect.
That particular set was really interesting because it was all smoke and mirrors. There was really no actual set. It was a lot, if you look around, if you ever see that, if you ever look at that set, everything is, there's like curtains between exhibits. And it was kind of like the Wizard of Oz. What was behind the curtains was just, like this, the wall of the set. So it was made to look like this big, expansive museum, but it was really just a lot. It was like it was basically rearranging set design and set dressing. It was really very, very, very smart.
The UFO Center was the most. That was just plain bizarre. That was filled with. That was a Hollywood version of what actually exists in Roswell, New Mexico. And the difference is that the Hollywood version is huge and vast and filled with these really glossy, cool, cheesy pictures and models and what have you. And the actual UFO museums are smaller and don't have air conditioning and they're very cheesy. Or can be. Can be. Not all of them. I don't want to get hate mail from them.
Actually, I went with David Nutter to go to the actual Roswell, and we actually based the idea of the UFO museum on an actual, venue there that someone had. There's a kind of a dedicated space there.
Hollywood has a tendency to polish things up, When you get in a huge squadron of set designers working on your thing, it doesn't have to be made out of tin foil. It can be made out of, stainless steel.
They wanted to kind of keep you guessing. The people that in Roswell, well, we don't really know, but, I can't say for sure that aliens landed here, but a lot of strange things have happened. So when we, we did our version of that, a kind of a heightened version, and, it was halfway between, Ripley's, believe it or not, and a kind of a natural history museum. So we did dioramas, but there was also the, kind of research library and just all kinds of displays. And it was just a great place visually. You could go anywhere with it, and it was fun.